Good afternoon. Welcome back to the farm. It's going to be a very hectic week this week, and I've got a couple of things that I've got to get done. We still have the tractor to get done, and I need to get the garlic planted. But I have pottery tonight, so I don't have a lot of time. So what I want to do is knock out as much of the garlic as I can to put that in storage before I plant the next batch. For anybody who is worried, I did go to urgent care on Sunday morning, and I have strep throat, so that's where the sore throat was coming from. Not sure how that explains the cough, but the docs put me on antibiotics and gave me some cough medicine, and so hopefully I'm on the road to recovery. The sore throat is already mostly gone, so all hail modern science. All right, so I'm not going to stay out in the cold too long, but I just want to get to work on that garlic, so let's drag it out and start chopping it up. So that's all the hardneck garlic. Hardneck, to store it, you cut the tops and the roots off of it, and you put it in mesh bags. I've got a bunch of onion bags to store it in. And then you put it someplace where it gets good ventilation and not a whole lot of direct sunlight. I'm going to go through this whole bucket as I decide what's going to go into bags and what I need to eat right away. Anything like this where the bulbs have all started opening up, I'm going to keep those, set those aside, peel them right away, and put them in a jar with olive oil and just make garlic out of it. Anything that's solid, well covered in paper, that will go in the bags and go into storage. I also still have a couple of bunches of soft neck garlic in there that I do want to try and braid. I don't have time to do it tonight, so I'm going to leave that where it is, and we'll try and come back in the next couple of days and finish that up. And if that will braid properly, then I'll hang that up in the kitchen. So it'll look pretty, and I can just cut off a head from the top, work my way down whenever I need some. I need tea. I got to get inside. We've got pottery in half an hour, so I'm going to wrap that up here for tonight. Tomorrow, we do have a big project, and I can't remember what it is. I'm willing to bet it's starting to cover the tractor, but we'll worry about that tomorrow. I'll see you back here tomorrow. right, so I picked up where I left off when I got sick. And I have now covered 3 sides of that with the new tarps, which should theoretically keep the wind out of the sides over the winter. Now I still have to put a tarp over the top, and I have a bigger one. I have an 8 by 10 foot one, which should be plenty long enough to cover the top and come down the sides. But it's not going to come all the way down the side, so I can strap it at the bottom. So I think what I need is I need to go back to the hardware store and get some paracord to lash it. So the tarp will come down to about here, I think. And then I can just use paracord to lash through the loops and around the bottom frame of the tractor to hold that in place. And that, even with heavy winds, should keep that tarp in place. And I want to have the roof tarp over the top of the wall tarps so that when it does get snow or rain and that melts, the gaps aren't facing up so that the water runs into them and then into the tractor. I want it to run off the side. So I was thinking, oh, well, I could just lash one end to the loops on this side and have it hang over that side, but then I'd have a gap along this side where they're stitched together. So I think it's going to be better just to cover a full overlap and then tie it around the frame. I don't have any paracord, so I will have to run back to the hardware store. But I have to run back to the hardware store anyway to get that replacement hook for the chicken coop. So it's all good, it's all fine, it's not a lot of money, so I may even run into town and do that today. But it's 3/4 of the way done. One more project that's 80% done, and let's see how long it takes us to do the last 20% of it. But, all right, let me clean up, and I don't know, maybe I'll go to the hardware store. So I'm glad I got the extra skein of paracord that I picked up. I should have gotten a third one because I am out. But that is doing exactly what I wanted to do. And it's especially important on this side because this side is going to be the side that faces our prevailing winds coming in from the west up over that hill. Comes over that hill and right down through the property. So it'll hit this, and the paracord should keep it from flapping too much. And if you remember with the bigger tarp, I just had that taped with Gorilla Tape, and it really, by the end, was not holding well at all. So this way, even I could tape down a couple of spots if I really wanted to. Like these seams here, this is what I was talking about yesterday. Any water is going to come down the roof off this side, and instead of catching, it's just going to pour right off and run down this tarp. If I had it layered the other way around, it would pour into this tarp and into the tractor, which we definitely don't want. Is it the prettiest solution? No, probably not. But it works. I can tighten it if I need to over the course of the winter. These are just double half hitch. I'm not the greatest knot tire in the world, but you know, we make do with what we can do. And so I can loosen that up and retighten it. So I've got this side is on one strand, and this side is actually on two, I think. Yeah, two. Because the one I ran out, of course I cut it too short, because I always cut it too short. So when I found I had a short piece that I had used to help pull the tarp over. So that still makes one continuous strand. So all I have to do get left on this is get that replacement or that additional skein. I know skein's not the right word, but I can't think of the right word right now. Of paracord, and get that other side tightened down. And then we're going to move this down. Let me show you. It's going to go down here near the chicken tractor. So on the other side of the tree here, which I think the tree is dead. But it's hard to tell because it's winter and it's lost all its leaves. This was a hazelnut tree. You can just kind of see the stick here. So we'll leave that alone and see what it does in the spring. So the tractor's going to go right here, facing the coop. So that as winter sets in and there's snow on the ground, chickens don't like to get their feet in the snow. And I learned last year I really need to shovel their run. So I'm going to clear this space out to make it easier to shovel over the winter. We'll have the tractor door right about here so they can come out of the coop, scratch around if they want to. There will be a path for them to get over to the goat stand so they can hide out under that. But they'll also be able to come right into the tractor, which will be nailed down here to give them some extra shelter. And I'll put hay down in the bottom so they have protected feet. And this ladder contraption will go inside that so they have a place to roost during the day if they want to. So that's the plan for that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that done this week now, because I've got class tonight. I may or may not be going into the studio tomorrow. I've got a couple of other things I need to do here, so we'll see if I get into town or not. I think that's it for tonight. Like I said, I need to go inside, make dinner, and get to class. Thankfully, class is online, so I don't have to drive anywhere, but so I'm going to haul this stuff in, and I need to pick something out of the garden. I need to get a cabbage for dinner, so let's go grab a cabbage.
fascinating, actually. How they're coping with people in the eyes evolution. So I'm trying to get the eyes right at this minute, and then everything from the eyes. That's the Robert I recognise.
She's really boring, especially on the eyes. The thing that concerns me is it's very worked, and so you don't get any breathing. They're really watching it to be picked for us actually a selection of paintings.
The worst job in television, where poor old Joan and me have to slog around watching these amazing artists paint these fantastic portraits of really interesting famous people.
Oh, I don't know, we get through it. Let me tell you a fact. Did you know that the artists we have today, we have the tallest competitor ever?
I look forward to seeing any easel stretched into colours. They're very green, those eyes at the moment. They can start traffic. They're so green. You're a brilliant, vibrant, energetic person.
Yeah.
So how's silence going to be for you?
It's going to be incredibly difficult because I'm really wanting to.
Paintings on its walls include William Hogarth's portrait of actor David Garrick.
very obviously not at the farm. I think I've mentioned I'm doing the Master Gardener training program at the moment. And today we visited one of the local ag schools, SUNY Cobleskill, to talk about plant pathology and to get a tour of their hydroponics lab, which was really interesting and also very eye-opening, because I'd always kind of toyed with the idea of setting up an aquaponics system where you're raising fish and the water from the fish circulates through a hydroponic growing system, so it's feeding nutrients to your plants. And I got kind of a cold dash of water when she was explaining that the two systems actually don't coincide very well, because the fish need a very different pH than the plants do, and different water temperatures, and so it can be very hard to work. And from an economic standpoint, even a simple hydroponic system, if you're trying to make money, is not cost effective. Even if you were to set up with a solar system, you would need 5 times the number of solar panels to the area of your hydroponic system. So if you had 1 acre of hydroponics, you'd need 5 acres of solar panels to power that. So it was very enlightening to be thinking about that, less from an idealist perspective and more from a pragmatic perspective. We talk about hydroponics being the way of the future, but until we find ways to improve the energy consumption in that system, it really isn't feasible. But this is the reason that I am not at home helping to fish the chicken tractor out of the ravine where it blew last night. We had wicked windstorms last night. I think we were getting 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And I went out to put the rabbits to bed for the night, and I happened to glance over at the chicken run and noticed the ladder stand is knocked over. And it took me another minute to register, wait a minute, the tractor is gone. And we'd had that happen once before, where the wind caught it and blew it over the fence and up against the big shed. So I'm looking around the yard trying to find this tractor, and I couldn't find it anywhere. But I noticed that the electric fence on the side near the bridge was leaned just ever so slightly out. And sure enough, I went and stood on the bridge, and there was the tractor down in the ravine. But of course, this was exactly at sunset, so there was no way we were going to go out and fish it out in the dark. So I just said it lives there tonight, and I asked Morgan and Josh if they could fish it out while I was in class. So it is 2 o'clock now. It's going to take me about an hour to get home, and we'll see if we get up to anything else tonight. I do still want to get that tied up, get that last side tied up. And the plan had always been to stake that to the ground today when I got home from class. So we will definitely get that driven into the ground so that this doesn't happen again, because this won't be the last wind we have before the end of winter.